June 6, 2012. It was a beautiful day in Howard County, Maryland. I decided to go for a walk, so I headed over to St. John's Lane, and I was about half a mile into that walk when a Howard County police officer drove by me once and then came back, and then he came back again. And he got out of his car and he went like this to me. And then he said, "What are you doing here?" And he started to question me about why I was in the neighborhood. What was I doing there? And I felt like his questions were getting increasingly invasive. I asked him why he was asking me all those questions, and he said that there had been a break-in in the neighborhood. And I asked him if it had happened that morning. And he said, no, there were break-ins in the past. And I said, well, if there wasn't a break-in this morning, then why are you stopping me? And he said, I'm stopping everyone who looks like they're not from this neighborhood. And that's when I knew why he stopped me. Because I'm black. As he and I continued our conversation, being knowledgeable of my rights, I started to talk with him about his treatment of me. I didn't feel respected. And I knew that his line of questioning was totally inappropriate. I talked with him about the U.S. Constitution and certain amendments, like the First Amendment, freedom of speech, when he threatened to arrest me for asking him questions. I talked with him about the 14th Amendment, equal protection under the law. I talked with him about illegal search and seizure when he threatened to confiscate my belongings. As I began to ask him questions, he began to get uncomfortable. So without explanation, he turned around and walked back to his car. And I followed him over, and I stopped about 10 feet away from his car, and I asked him, "Officer, are we done here?" And he's just staring straight ahead, not paying me any attention. I asked him again, and I asked him a couple more times just to make sure. No response. So I continued my walk. As I'm walking away from the police officer, I pulled my phone out and I called my attorney because a similar incident happened just a couple of months earlier. And I said, "You wouldn't believe what just happened to me. I just got stopped for walking while black." Not 5 minutes later, 3 Howard County police officers come up. And that first officer, along with 2 others, rush up to me, and there's a corporal with his nose right up to my nose, yelling at me. Was there a misunderstanding back there? And he yelled it over and over. And I noticed that the first officer had his hand on his taser, and I noticed that the third officer was in an aggressive stance. And the first thing I said was, "My attorney's on speakerphone, and he hears everything." They all took a step back. So I finally just hand my phone to the corporal. And I said, "Talk to my attorney." And I'm noticing his tone change as he's talking with my attorney. And he hands me back the phone, and my attorney tells me, "Just don't say anything more. Just get out of there as soon as you can." Finally, they let me go. And they drove off. But one car came back. And the car came right up to me and slowed down to a crawl, as if to say, "I got my eyes on you." And then he sped off. I left there feeling like I had just been assaulted. These guys had bad intentions. And if I did not have my phone out talking with my attorney, I don't know what would have happened on the side of that road. That saved me a trip to the hospital, at the very least. You know, this was after Trayvon Martin, but it was before Freddie Gray. And it was before Sandra Bland. And it was before everyone else that's been in the news over the past few years. I was fearful for my life on the side of the road. But I also knew that this was the last time that I was going to let this happen to me and not do something about it. After that incident, I filed a complaint with the NAACP and with the Howard County Human Rights Commission, and they encouraged me to file a complaint with Internal Affairs. And I did that as well. And I did not get any response other than, "It's a training matter." That's the only response I got. And I felt at that point that, we're out here by ourselves, unprotected, no recourse, no options available to us when the police harass us. And I felt that I couldn't trust the police anymore. And I felt I couldn't trust the system because it was apparent that all they were doing was protecting bad cops. After that incident, police started to pull me over or follow me on a regular basis. And I felt that my wife and I were in danger. I became very vocal. I talked with everyone that I could about this issue. And all the black people that I knew were echoing what I said. And all the white people I knew sounded incredulous. They were apologetic. But guess what? No one wanted to do anything about it. It just kept on happening to me and other people. For 2 years, I harbored a lot of anger towards the police. I had trouble reconciling that because I had some good friends who were police officers. Melvin Russell in Baltimore City, Mike Jones, state trooper, dear friends of mine. And I could not reconcile in my spirit how I could know cops that were great human beings. And then I had encounters with others who were like the KKK. And it took a while for me to reconcile that. It took me 2 years of fear and anxiety and anger. In 1998, my brother Abby passed away. And it was on his deathbed that he said his last words to me, which were, "Love is the answer." And those words came back to me in a powerful way that I knew it was going to be life-changing for me. LOVE became an acronym. If we can learn about people in the community and what makes them tick, if we can open our heart to their issues, have empathy for them as people, if we can volunteer ourselves to be part of the solution, and if we can empower others to do the same, then we'll have love. People talk about no justice, no peace, but here's the reality. We've got to start with love, and we've got to live it out every single day. As we do that, we will develop respect. And when we work on that every day, respecting each other, that will lead to justice. And justice, in that form, will result in a peace that passes all understanding. We'll get there. We just need to love each other. Love is the answer.